Greetings and welcome to Wisdom of the Book of Mormon. We are going to take a look of, this episode is going to be called Genesis of the Nephite civilization. Okay, because in our last episode, we talked about Lehi's last prophecy, so you know. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into the scriptures and really, I think if you've been reading along with me, which if not, you can do so next year with Come Follow Me. But I'm hoping that some of you are, because really, the Nephite civilization was the civilization in the Americas at the time, the Promised Land, that was actually keeping the commandments of God. Laman and Lemuel, they were interested in keeping the commandments of God. And maybe it was an easy choice, or maybe it was a hard choice to decide who was going with Nephi and who was going with Laman and Lemuel. I can't even imagine of the pain of this founding family of Lehi's upon his death splitting up. Sadly, I've seen that where a death of a relative, particularly a family patriarch, can really impact where there's dysfunction for a family to go its separate ways. I have a personal story that I prefer so as to not be reactive. What the heck? I don't know why it's acting like that. Let me try this again. That's crazy. Gospel Library app's not supposed to do that. Technology sometimes does not work out. And I'm trying to make it so that, you know what? I'm tired of making them work out. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to use this phone, the podcast. Let's go into the Gospel Library app. Devil's fighting me, so... But I got my army now. He's not going to fight me on this one. I can promise you that one. So, let's go to 2 Nephi chapter 5. Because if you see in chapter 4, Nephi is in mourning because of his own sins. And no doubt, him and his brothers having to separate like that. Because think about it. Laman and Lemuel, they're angry. They're out to pursue Nephi. So he and his wife and his sisters and children and brothers, probably brothers Sam, Jacob, and Joseph, fled into the wilderness for many days. So they departed from where their father was buried, which had to be hard. And he took his family into the wilderness. And I've got to say, and his people, the first settlement they reached, they want to call the place Nephi after him. So they called it Nephi. And that's in verse 8. In verse 9, and all those who were with me did take upon them to call themselves the people of Nephi. So there we go, the Nephites. And they're observing the law of Moses that was given to them. They're living the commandments of the Lord was given them to best know how. And because of that, he was with them. And, they were prosperous and everything. And were in abundance. They began to gather flocks and the like. And he was able to take the records on the plates of brass, as well as the other family, and the Liahona. See, Laman and Lemuel, they didn't want that Liahona. They felt that Liahona caused him enough problems. And isn't that something? It's indicative of our degenerate culture. Who says, well, we don't want these commandments. We don't want all this revelation. We're comfortable where we're at. I used to be like that. And to be honest with you, to me, it just meant unhappiness and misery. And they were living well. They were living prosperous on the land. Because I have a friend. He's well known on the James Hendrick Empowerment Network, but I won't mention his name for the sake of the podcast. He asked me, he said, how come so many people in the church are wealthy? And I said, well, man, they live the commandments. We live the commandments. You want the Lord to prosper you, that's the best way. But there's so many people, and of course, Nephi, he had to believe in arming himself, so he took the sword of Laban, and after the manner of it, did make many swords. Because he knew that, Laman had created his own civilization. The Lamanites. Him and Lemuel. So they're building buildings. They're being industrious and everything. Working with their hands and everything. In verse 16, this is one of my favorite verses in chapter 5 of 2 Nephi. And I, Nephi, did build a temple, and I did construct it after the manner of the temple of Solomon, save it were not built of so many precious things, for they were not to be found upon the land. Wherefore it could not be built like unto Solomon's temple. But the manner of the construction was like unto the temple of Solomon, and the workmanship thereof was exceedingly fine. I picture this. He's building this temple, morning, probably to evening, and then for him to finally stand and see that the hands that he had made, with the help of some people from the civilization, the temple of God in the New World. I mean, so many people in our degenerate culture is like, well, why can't we step into the temples? Why? It's because what is in the temples is sacred. And for those willing to keep the covenants of such. Verse 17, this is key here, okay? And it came to pass that I, Nephi, did cause my people to be industrious and to labor with their hands. I think that that's a good idea. We need to be industrious. We need to be self-reliant. That's one of the principles of that. And it came to pass that that I should be their king. But I, Nephi, was desirous that they should have no king. Nevertheless, I did for them according to that which was in my power. He wanted him to be a king, and Nephi was like, no, I mean, Mother Church, he's like, no, just let me be like a president. You know? Don't give me too much power. And in that, verse 19, and behold, the words of the Lord have been fulfilled unto my brethren, which he spake concerning them, that I should be their ruler and their teacher. Wherefore, I have been their ruler and their teacher, according to the commandments of the Lord, until the time they sought to take away my life. And now he's a ruler and a lead teacher for a society. Verse 20. Wherefore, the words of the Lord was fulfilled, which he spake unto me, saying that inasmuch as they will not hearken unto thy word, they shall be cut off from the presence of the Lord. And they behold, they were cut off from his presence. Okay, and so we're going to go way down for the second time. Verse 24. Yeah, I think we're going to go further down than that. Because I don't want to go through the Lamanite culture, to be honest with you, which some of it comes to fruition later. Verse 27. And it came to pass that we lived after the manner of happiness. Think about it. They're being chased by their cursed brethren because they would not believe in it. And regardless of what's going after, they're living after the manner of happiness. Does that mean everything's perfect and hunky-dory? No, of course not. Verse 28, and 30 years had passed away from the time we left Jerusalem. Verse 29, and I, Nephi, had kept the records upon my plates, which I had made of my people thus far. See, he's being obedient. He's being a great leader. He's desiring him himself, and he's writing the history and everything that is pleasing to God. So now we're going to go to chapter 6. We got about 9 minutes, so we don't have too much time. So we're probably just going to hit little highlights here and there. See, Jacob is Nephi's younger brother, and he says, I have anxiety for the welfare of these people's souls, he says in verse 3. He said, I've always been concerned about you guys. And, he's teaching them the words of Lehi. So he's going into the history of the house of Israel. This is interesting. This is one reason why I like to read 2nd Nephi in December is the Isaiah chapters. Okay? And we're probably going to do a little stop over here for just a little, but then I got to stop here in a little bit. Yeah, because that time is wasting away. Verse, I can get to it in time. Verse 3. This is Isaiah 50. I clothe the heavens with blackness, and I make sackcloth their coverings. For the Lord God hath given me the tongue of the learned, that I should know how to speak a word in season unto thee, O house of Israel. When ye are weary, he waketh morning by morning. He waketh mine ear to hear as learned. Verse 5. For the Lord God hath opened mine ear, and I was not rebellious, neither turned away back. Okay, so now we're going to go to chapter, actually, I think we need to go ahead and go to chapter 9, because there's some highlights here that I know I've been missing. Yesterday, I just kind of glanced over this reading, but I want to concentrate on it the last few minutes that we have, okay? So now, we're going to go to beginning of verse 6 to 8, okay? For as death has passed upon all men to fulfill the merciful plan of the great King, there must needs be a power of resurrection, and the resurrection must needs come unto man by reason of the fall, and the fall come by reason of transgression. And because man became fallen, they were cut off from the presence of God. Wherefore, it must needs be an infinite atonement. I'm going to mark this verse. And those of you who have a Gospel Library app, I want you to start using tags. Okay? There's a tag feature. I didn't know what that was, but now I do. We talk about the atonement of Jesus Christ. So it should be an infinite atonement. This corruption could not put an incorruption. Wherefore, the first judgment which came upon man must needs have remained to an endless duration. And if so, this flesh must have laid down to rot and to crumble to its mother earth, to rise no more. All right, I'm going to close this out. There is one verse that I love. It says, and the keeper of the gate is the Holy One of Israel, and he employeth no servant there. So I want you to think about that. Hope you enjoy listening to the Book of Mormon, Wisdom of the Book of Mormon. If I could hear, please subscribe, become a part of the Wisdom of the Book of Mormon family. Until next time, remember who you are. Read your scriptures, and please, please, please preach the gospel. God bless you, and have a blessed Sabbath.